behind the scenes at ID8 Studios. I'm Steve Sue with Crystal Baki and our guest, Sara Brekke. Hi, Sara.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us. And you're going to talk about how to shoot BTS on a film set.
Yes.
Because you've done this a lot, right?
Yes.
So can you define BTS for us?
BTS means behind the scenes. So anything that's going on that's wouldn't make it onto the actual film. I feel like seeing how it's made, seeing the people behind the camera, since usually it's the people in front of the camera that you're seeing. BTS really helps you get to know the people that's making the actual film.
Or the backstory, perhaps.
Or the backstory,
right?
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like how the story came to be, I guess.
Yeah, because I know I love watching those reels where they say, this is how this was made, or this is how this was blown up. Or,
yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
So you've been working on a little project with us, right?
I have, yes.
And so just full disclosure, the three of us are working a picture together right now. It's called Shaka, A Story of Aloha. And Sara actually graduated high school just last year. So she's already in film school at University of Hawaii, Manoa. And she's moved all the way up from being a BTS shooter to now a camera operator, which is, this is a great way to get into the industry, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel super lucky to have got this opportunity right out of high school. Literally started working like a week after I graduated, which I'm so incredibly lucky, especially with how great this film is going to be.
Helps to be good. You are great. There's no question about it. You're super good at everything you do, especially at such a young age. So let's talk a little bit about the BTS side, because on this same picture, Crystal is the director of photography. So as a DP, Crystal, what are you looking for in somebody that's shooting BTS?
How do you get the best shot of the scene without getting in the shot itself?
Yeah, I feel like that's really important, is to be invisible, is like what we always say.
So you don't mess up her shot.
Yeah, I don't want to get in the way of her shot. I don't want to have to stop or have to redo another shot for the actual directors, because that just takes up time. So it's like, how can you get the best shots while not being in the shot? Pretty much like what you said, yeah.
And do you get a variety, like every time someone cuts, you move to a different?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I do. Whenever I hear cut, or I notice that, oh, they're taking a break, maybe there's like a plane flying over, or a mic needs to be adjusted, that's usually when I'm moving to a new spot, because if you just stay in the same spot, you're going to get the same angle, and that's no fun.
Do you get pieces that you just shoot, or do you roll through the whole action?
No, I like to get pieces. I don't know, maybe I should be rolling through the whole action, but maybe I'll try that for the next shoot. But I usually just do little pieces, because right now I'm just doing like quick little reels, I would say, to post on social media. And I feel like, I don't know, for BTS stuff, you're not really just staying on one shot the whole time. You're like cutting. It's like a montage almost of what's going on behind the scenes.
Unless you were tasked with covering the story behind the story, which would be a whole storyline.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you have a shot list in mind generally when you come to set?
No, not really. I kind of like, just when I get there and I see what's going on, I kind of think, oh, what shots could I be using? So I don't go in with a shot list like I'm going to get these shots exactly. I just kind of go in with an open mind of, oh, I'm just going to get everything and anything that I can, because it's better to have more than not enough.
Yeah. Well, so we oftentimes do hot mic, right? We set up, and during the setup, everybody's mic'd up first.
Yeah.
So we're getting all this, because for a documentary, we're looking for great dialogue. And oftentimes when people are more comfortable, or they're, just like hanging out, the best stuff happens. Is that a primo opportunity for you as a BTS shooter?
Yeah, definitely. I think seeing the cast interact with the crew is such a vital part of behind the scenes, because it gets you to know who's making the film and gets you connected with the people, so that maybe you can connect more with the story. So I think those relationships between cast and crew is very important to capture, which those like open mic, hot mics are like really, really key for that. Yeah.
And I always think when you're walking onto set, you're like, okay, I want the viewers to know that we're in this location, and then I want them to know that this person's behind the camera, and we're looking at that actor. Like, I feel like there is like kind of a checklist, a minimal
so in a sense,
checklist.
There's a shot list, I guess. Yeah. In a sense, there's a shot list where like, oh, there's certain things you have to get: your location, who you're shooting, who's shooting, what's going on in the shot, maybe get some B-roll of setting up. So you have like those in mind, but it's not like, oh, I'm going to get a wide pan of the location like from this far back. Like, I'm not thinking like that. I kind of just, I have a checklist more than a shot list, I think.
Yeah, I also noticed that your footage in particular, I see a lot of art shots. Like you're doing things that are patterns, or I mean, the uses of those could be myriad. Can you tell us a little bit about what your thought process is for all of those kind of extra shots?
Yeah, I think personally, I've always been more into that like artistic, fun shots, not like the standard like, oh, medium eye level. Like I feel like, especially for behind the scenes, it needs to be really fun because you're not telling the actual story, right? You're telling the story of how the story is made. And so I feel like you have to keep it really interesting with your shots, because if they want to see, maybe they might see the behind the scenes first before the actual thing. You want to make sure you show them shots that they'd be like, oh, this looked really good, so the actual film must be great, you know? And so I think I'm more into that like personal, really intimate shots. So I like to get a lot of close-ups and mediums more than wides, because I want the audience to feel like, oh, they really know that person, or they can really see them and feel them through the camera.
Well, actually, that brings up an interesting point, because a lot of the stuff we're putting out on social is very important to put stuff out on social, because that's how you basically create a population of people that are anticipating your film.
Yeah.
So I can imagine, like, if you can get the one clip wonder shots, those reaction shots, or those little stories within a single clip, that's gold. And at the same time, if you have a meme, how do you put text on an image? Because you have to leave room in that image for the text to go over, right?
Yeah, I think my favorite shots are always like getting the crew laughing. Like I love getting shots of them kind of like in their natural habitat in a sense, because on set I feel like that's where the crew's natural habitat is, their home. It's on set behind the camera. So when you get those really like raw reactions, like the person you're interviewing says something funny and you see the people behind the camera laughing, it makes you feel like, oh, I can laugh too. Like I can laugh with them. I'm laughing with them.
Or you're in the shot with
them.
them.
You're in it with them. And I feel like those moments are so fun. Like when we went to the patch at the Tanabes.
Yeah.
That was super fun, because I got a lot of shots of you guys trying the different seeds and walking through the patch and just having a lot of fun. It felt like very raw and natural. It didn't feel staged at all. And those shots I feel like came out the best because they were just so fun to watch.
That was an amazing day because the lighting was perfect. It was like you're in a what was that, like a 10-acre of lotus roots.
Yeah.
And all
Lotus
the lotus
pond.
flowers.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was incredible.
Mm.
What is your setup like? What does your setup look like to get the best stuff?
Yeah, so I usually have a crane or a gimbal, a stabilizer, and I have my camera on top. Usually it's just my 50 millimeter Sony lens. And then I am able to move around a lot because I have that stabilizer. So I try to like hide or like just try to be unnoticed. So sometimes a trick I do is I'll just keep it like really close to my body here, and I'll be looking one way, but the camera's actually in the opposite direction facing you. So if I was filming Steve, I would probably hold my camera here and look this way, but it's actually right on him so that he doesn't feel like there's a camera on him, because if I'm not looking at him, why would I be filming, right? So I feel like little tricks like that to be invisible or unnoticed is really important. I think that's kind of like what I do for my setup.
Because the best sound bites come when Steve's picking his nose, right?
Yeah.
I also think a great way to get a shot of somebody is having a longer lens.
Yeah.
So you can be further away so they don't notice that you're shooting them.
Yeah, that's true.
But you're with a
have
50,
that.
right?
Yeah, but I think most of the shoots that we do, like you can see I have this like huge, like super long lens. I think it's like a 200 zoom. And so I usually just get a monopod, my same Sony body, and then I put that Canon zoom lens on so I can be really far away and still get really good close-up reaction shots. And that also is a good way of being invisible, is, oh, if I'm not close to you, I'm probably not filming you. But in reality, I'm like in the corner, like a couple feet away filming you, and you wouldn't even know. I think that's also important to get like the raw reaction.
Do you watch a lot of like behind the scenes stuff that are on like on YouTube and
Yeah, I do. I think the one I like watched over and over to prepare for this was Joker. They had a really good behind the scenes of like how they made it and like the characters and the crew and like all that. I felt like that BTS video really like inspired me in a way.
Do you see like, is there like a trend in like BTS ways of shooting?
I think there's a lot of they put a lot of like B-roll, but the B-roll is actually just like the actor acting in front of the camera, but you can see the crew filming them. I think that's a lot of mainly the shots. It's more you hear their voice talking in the background, like explaining what's going on while they're showing what was actually going on in that moment.
I really love those BTS videos that shoot the whole way through when it's a one moving camera.
Yeah.
And they put it side by side with a real shot of the movie to like right on top of the camera, and it's like moving together.
Yeah, those are really cool.
Yeah,
we gotta set that
fascinating.
up. We have to set one of those shots up then. Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
Do it.
Yeah.
So question then, audio is such a big part of film, right? How do you do audio? Because sometimes I can imagine that you can use a feed from somewhere else, but if it's specifically something that's happening that's not in the shot, if it's people laughing, how do you capture that?
If I don't, so usually I have like a tiny little Bluetooth Rode mic that I can just like place somewhere. So one time when we were filming a meeting, I just like kind of like put it near someone without really saying anything, so I could hear what they would say naturally, like under their breath. I could catch it and stuff. That, or I just pull out my phone, and phone mics are pretty good on the voice memos. So sometimes if I notice like, oh, I can tell that this is going to be a really good reaction, I'll just whip out my phone and hold it while I'm filming with the other hand.
How about BTS just shot off the phone? Because so much of it goes out to social, and if you're shooting portrait, it's natural, right?
That's very true. I do use my phone a lot of the times too. I'll alternate because I know we need to post stuff for like social media, and that's the quicker, more convenient way. And the phone camera is like really good nowadays, right? Yeah. I just saw a film that a friend made all on iPhone. You could not tell it was an iPhone film at all. It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's been happening for quite some time. Films that are all made on phones, and they oftentimes say it at the very end, and audience is like, wow.
You can't even tell. Like once you color grade it, it's just like beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Yeah,
and sometimes it's just better to be softer, anyway, at 4K anyway, right?
That's true.
I mean, they're shooting high, but I imagine it must have a difference in the lens.
I mean, obviously there's going to be a difference between a DSLR and an iPhone, but I feel like both can get the job done if you just know like what settings to use. And there's like apps on the phone that you can use that mimic camera lenses now. So that's also an option, but I mainly stick to like my Sony body.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you have any cool, fun stories about shooting BTS?
Maybe not like a cool, fun story, but I have a story that like made me feel like, okay, I'm doing the right thing, or like I'm doing a good job. Was when we were on set for one of the interviews. Alex was getting our director was getting the interviewee ready, and I was filming him for a really long time because he was having a really good conversation with them. And then he turns around and makes direct eye contact with me, and he was like, "Oh, I forgot you're even here." And I was like
Yay.
At first you'd think like, oh, but to me that was like, oh, good, because I don't want to be known that I'm here, right? When you're filming BTS, you don't want to be seen, you want to be invisible, like we said earlier, and you want to get that natural reaction, because sometimes people can tense up when they know they're on camera, so they're not being like their authentic selves. But if you can like melt into the scene and not like feel like you're pressuring people into the camera, you get definitely a more raw reaction. And when he said that, I was like, okay, I'm doing the right thing.
Good job.
Raw is the perfect word for BTS.
Yes, I agree.
You get the raw. You've got the shot.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, okay then, Sara Brekke, BTS master shooting and now moving up to camera operator in full. Thank you for joining us and enlightening us with BTS. I learned a tremendous amount. It's wonderful. So where can we find information about you?
Just look up my name, Sara Brekke, Brekke, on pretty much anywhere, and I should pop up.
Yay, thanks, Sara. And for more on BTS at ID8, look up ID8studios.org. Thanks for joining us.